Hey, this is Graham and welcome back to another car review. Today we are driving a 1991 Nissan 300ZX. So this car has the 3-liter naturally aspirated V6, but it has been upgraded quite a bit. This car has the radiator off of the twin turbo model. It also has aluminum intake tubes. It's also fully straight piped with a MagnaFlow mufflers out back, and they sound absolutely beautiful. I mean, it gives you that full raw Z experience, as you can hear. Oh, it sounds beautiful. So it's a very hot day today, and these cars typically do have AC, but the owner took out the AC for the track just to give it a little bit more power. So, you know, I'm on a track, I'm sure it's fantastic with it that way, but driving it around today on a 91 degree Georgia afternoon, I can tell you that it is quite warm in the car. Now, with it having the cloth seats and everything, it does keep it a little bit cooler than it would be otherwise. With leather seats, it would be quite miserable right now. Thinking of when I sit down in my Mustang after it's been sitting in the parking lot, it's unbearable. So that definitely helps. The shift knob, though, is metal. It feels really good when you're shifting through the gears. Just the shape of it and the way that it feels in your hands feels fantastic. But after the car's been sitting out in the sun, the shift knob does feel like it's about 2,000 degrees and it does burn your hand off. So those are just two little qualms. Not a big deal. Nothing that's going to turn you off of a car like this. But something that I actually really like about this car in particular, though, is that the power steering rack has been taken out. It was leaky when the owner bought the car, so rather than patching it up, just take it out. That's something that I think a lot of owners do when they have hydraulic power steering, is they just decide to pull out the rack when it's leaky rather than bother fixing it. And I think that it really helps this car. It's really funny when you're kind of getting it going and you've never driven a car without power steering before, and you really have to like put all of your weight into it just to get the wheels to turn left or right. But when you actually get the car rolling and just drive it, it feels really good, and you feel really connected to the car, and you get a lot of good feedback from it. So that certainly helps. I'm about to do a U-turn, so I will demonstrate now how much muscle you need to put into this thing just to get it to turn. Oh. Also, the turn signals don't click off automatically. So I've been driving around like half the time with my turn signal on when I'm not turning. I'm trying to get used to that. But aside from all those little things, this car is actually really fun to drive. It's got tine coilovers on it, and 18 by 9 inch wheels, so a lot of rubber underneath. And it really helps this car to handle extremely well. I mean, it feels very nicely planted, while giving you a lot of feedback, which is what you want in a semi-track car, semi-daily, I guess is what it would be. A daily that you can take to the track and really have fun with. It's also got drilled and slotted rotors, which again helps with track use, mountain runs, whatever you want to use it for. But helps the brakes cool off. But it's just a very well-rounded car, and again, as you have seen from the glamour shots at the beginning of the video, it looks fantastic too. It's got fender flares over the rear wheels, which really kind of give the car a wider, meaner stance, a more aggressive stance, which really makes it look fantastic. And it's also got J-spec front bumper and a rear wing, which again help with the aggressiveness of the exterior. And it also gives it a really big happy smile that's always nice to see on cars driving around, because it looks like it's having as much fun as you are while you're sitting behind the wheel. Speaking of the wheel, this is the steering wheel out of a R32 GTR, and it looks like it was meant to be here, but obviously it has the Skyline logo on it, and it really feels nice and beefy, and really just helps with the overall feel and experience and feedback that you get from the car. I've always thought that steering wheels are kind of one of the major things. You want to have a nice steering wheel in a car because, you know, it's one of those things that you always have your hands on, like the shift knob and the steering wheel, and it's just the things that you touch make a huge difference in the feel of the car. So having this steering wheel out of the GTR really kind of gives this car a unique and very controlled feel, and it's really fantastic. I think one of the coolest things about this car is just the way that everything looks, because it is so unbelievably 90s. I think the first thing that you really notice when you sit down in the car, aside from the seats with this funky headrest design that they have going on, are these gauge pods just sitting here. They look like something out of Star Wars, and it is just awesome. Because, you know, rather than having the stupid stalks that we have nowadays, you've got these big rectangular chunks of plastic here with all the different buttons and everything all over them, and the little dial for the climate control, and it's just a different era when you sit down inside this car. God, those train tracks are terrible. For 200 horsepower though, this thing really rips. I was saying a few minutes ago that honestly this car feels as fast, if not faster, than my Mustang, which is pretty impressive for a car that is 26 years old. It's just ridiculous. It's ridiculous how good this car feels. I mean, it doesn't feel 26 years old, not even close. I mean, if you sat me down in it, you know, aside from like seeing everything, which, you know, I'm not saying that it looks like it's had 26 years put on it, but like just you can just tell that the era it's from is a different time. But like if you sat me down in this car blindfolded and just took me for a ride in it, I would never guess that this car is 26 years old. It rides so smoothly. It's got such nice power. It sounds so good. It's an amazing window back to a different era that, you know, it's so nice. It's so much fun to be able to drive cars like this too, and kind of step back into the past, see what things were like, see how cars felt, how they drove. Especially when it's in such good condition, it really kind of gives you an idea of what the cars were really like back then. It's kind of like the Miata in a way. It just gives you a nice look back in time, and really makes you appreciate these cars a little bit better than you otherwise would. I know they're good to look at, especially this one. I've always loved the looks of this one, but driving it now really makes me appreciate it and really love it, honestly. even with all of its little quirks. But I think that's what makes the car so special. Like I said about the '08 Mustang that I drove, when a car has quirks like that, that's what really gives them personality and really makes them interesting. Because you sit down in a brand new car and you drive it and you're just kind of like, you're underwhelmed just because it's so normal. There's nothing unique about it, nothing too special. But then you sit down in a car like this and you drive it and it's got all of its little quirks, issues, so on and so forth, and that's what really gives a car its personality and makes it so unique, so special, and it's really, you really can only experience those sort of things by driving them. You don't get that just by looking at it. Of course, every car has its own unique looks, but you don't get the full experience until you actually sit down and drive it. So I think that's probably the best part about driving this car today, is just kind of seeing the personality behind it and experiencing it firsthand. So it really has been a pleasure driving it today, and I hope you all enjoyed this review. As always, leave a like, subscribe, and take it easy.